Hey everybody, Austin back again, continuing this July 2014 Sega Master System Let's Play Marathon. Today we've got Time Soldiers, which was a conversion of an arcade game by the same name. And I might be wrong here in saying this, but I think this was the only home conversion of this game up until recently. Recently it was made available on the PlayStation Portable, I believe just through emulation, but you could buy it there on PSP. But I think up until then, the Master System was the only version available of this game, which was kind of a shame because it was a really awesome arcade game. I love the arcade version of Time Soldiers. It was one of those top-down shooters that used two rotary sticks, or not two, but one rotary joystick. So you would use the joystick to move your character around, but you could also turn it at the same time to basically twist your character around to shoot in any direction you wanted to, which many not twin-stick shooters, but many top-down run-and-gun shooters of that time period, by SNK especially, used that format. It was a really fun format. Master System version of this game, on the other hand, doesn't have that luxury, so it is a little stiff compared to the arcade version, but it is still a solid game, despite it being, well, really cut back from the arcade version. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get into the game and try to describe how this game operates to the best of my ability. This could be slightly complicated in terms of the overarching concept, but once you sort of understand how the game works, it's actually pretty cool. It's a really unique concept, and something I really liked, I thought would be cool to be brought back in another top-down run-and-gun shooter, but I don't think it's been done before or since. So we're going to be starting off in the primitive age, and at the very beginning, it essentially said one of my comrades was trapped in the World Wars. Now, essentially how this game is set up is every major level you are in basically is a hub. And it's a hub of, at least in terms of this first hub I'm in, it's a hub of 3 levels. And you can constantly bounce back and forth between these few levels, depending. And I'll sort of explain how that works in just a moment once we get to the mini-boss here. But the goal is to get to where my comrade is, which is, again, in the World Wars, and fight the main boss of that level. So we're going to go ahead and fight a mini-boss here, I believe. Yep, here's a mini-boss. I've got a secondary weapon, so I'm going to go ahead and use that by pressing button 2, or technically button C on my Genesis controller, because I'm not using a Master System controller in this game. This game would be stupid hard with a Master System controller, because I'd be going diagonally when I don't want to, and dying all the time, and so forth. So, every time you defeat a mini-boss, which I just did, a warp zone appears. Now, you can either go into the warp zone and go to the next level in the hub, and it always progresses the same way. So if you're in the primitive age, it always goes to Rome. And if you're in Rome, it goes to the World Wars, and so forth. It sort of goes up the time scale, if you will. Now, you can actually say if my boss was in the primitive age. I was actually already at the primitive age, but I didn't actually get to the main boss. Well, I could have just skipped the warp, and it would have continued on that same level hub. Not level hub, but that same level. So there's like 3 or 4 different stages for each main level, or main age, I should say. So technically we're in the Age of Rome, and then the next one's going to be the World Wars, and then the next one, which we were just at, was the primitive age. So I could just keep looping the same few levels in that age over and over again if I really wanted to. But that would sort of defeat the purpose of progression and actually getting through to the end of the game. Which I should actually make a disclaimer I've never done before. So I'd like to get that out of the way early on in the video. Normally I do that, normally I'm pretty good about that. But I totally forgot to do that in this episode. So I'm probably not going to beat this game, guys. I've actually never beaten the Master System Time Soldiers. I was about to say Time Splitters, which is another great game, mind you, on the PS2. Yeah, I've never beaten this game, but I have been able to make more progress in recent years due to some practice, and mostly due to recently reacquiring the game. So it is a tough game, though, and you'll see why later on in this video. It's definitely a tough little game. Cool little game, but very, very difficult. So yeah, we're pretty much at the World Wars now, and the goal is to defeat all the mini-bosses and get to the main big boss on this stage. So how many mini-bosses we'll have to go through, it really depends on what section of the level we're already at. Because remember, these levels actually, you know, there's 3 or 4 of them in each age. So I might need to actually go through a couple of these stages in order to get to the main boss, but we'll find out very soon. So here's a mini boss. It's going to be the helicopter. Now this is one of those games where it's just one-hit kills. You die in one hit, so you have to be very, very careful. Unlike some of these games on the Master System, you do get continues, so that's definitely helpful, but there's no clear, like, continue prompt when you get a game over. It's really, really confusing. So what happens is... Alright, here we are. We're at the main boss now. Cool. So basically what happens is when I get a game over, I just keep mashing my buttons and hope that my guy comes back and continues. So we're gonna hope that's the case in this one, and please don't come up. I was gonna say, whew. Oh man, I died. That was bad. I was feeling pretty good about that too. Thought I was going to avoid him. Okay, got him. So that's the first major boss in the game. And now essentially what's going to happen is it's going to spit us back out into an age. I think we're still going to be in the World Wars. And looks like we have to go to the Age of Rome now. So it's really important to read these sort of mid-level sequences. If you don't read those, you're just going to be looping the same levels over and over again. And I totally made that mistake when I was a little kid playing the arcade version. I just kept looping the levels. I'm like, what's going on? But, yeah, it's not quite like Ikari Warriors or something like that, where you just start from point A and you end at point B. I was about to say Time Splitters again. Time Soldiers is not like that, and that's one of the great aspects about this game, and one of the coolest factors about the game. And it's definitely one of the reasons why it's a very cool Master System exclusive. You know, in terms of the home versions anyway. Again, if there was another home version of this game, please let me know. I'd love to check it out, because I love the arcade version of this game. It's probably one of my favorite arcade games from the late 80s. Really, really cool game. If you ever see a Time Soldiers, play it. It's a really awesome game. So, Age of Rome. This is going to be the primitive age, I believe, because we're at the Age of Rome before the World Wars. And again, you can skip through these. So, the primitive age. Okay, cool. Now, sometimes in these early stages especially, I just skip through everything. I just kind of bolt through it as fast as I can. Later levels, you really kind of want to take your time, because they're pretty damn tough. These early stages, though, you can sort of just blaze through them. And I've got, okay, secondary item. Secondary item is good. This is a really, really strong secondary item. It can take bosses down in just a couple hits. And it goes all the way across the screen, unlike the missiles. Okay, so Age of Rome, we're where we need to be. Can't even talk. Go figure. Age of Rome, here we are. Now, the Age of Rome levels are always... they're a little more difficult than the other two levels, in my opinion. Especially this one. There's more guys flying out. They all shoot bullets at you. And I've noticed on some of these levels, like, the power-ups are very skimpy. Like, they just aren't dropped at all. And I think this is one of those levels where we basically don't get any power-ups. So, it's good if I can hold on to the power that I have, because this is a really, really strong firepower. And that I don't really want. I think that's the spread shot. I don't really need the spread shot. The spread shot's not really that useful in this game. It would be if it was more powerful, but it's just a simple 3-way shot, and in the arcade version it was like a 10-way shot. It was something crazy. It was a really nice spread shot. It was a lot more useful in that version. So here we go. We got the boss, and he's sort of got this sort of mace-looking thing that flies around, ball and chain, if you will. And the goal is to just hit his head, and you obviously don't want to touch him. The ball and chain does get larger, so you have to watch out for that. And your bullets, your main bullets anyway, don't go all the way across the screen, so you have to really position yourself correctly in order to hit him. You have to get up a little close. So the next one is going to be, yep, the primitive age. We need to go back to the primitive age, and we're going to fight this big-ass dinosaur. And then from there, we've basically completed the first hub. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the second hub. And I don't remember which hub I've gotten to. It might have just been the second hub, to be honest with you. Because again, it's a pretty tough game. And even just getting through one hub takes time. It's not, you know, it's not the kind of game you're just going to breeze through. And it's the kind of game that's going to require practice. just remember that these levels, each age in each hub, is it's long. They each have 3 or 4 levels, technically, or sections to their level, and you know, the game's going to require a little bit of memorization. God damn it! I don't want to get this power-up icon because it's just not that useful. The problem with the power or the P icon is that it's like a rapid fire functionality that I don't really want. I mean, it's useful for your regular firepower, but it also overrides like your missiles, and there's a missile stuck in there I'm trying to pick up, but it's not letting me. And I wanted to keep the missile I already had, but by picking up the P icon, it was pretty much going to remove the missile from me, or force me to, because even if I just use my regular shot with the P icon, it would use my meter, and once my meter drains, my missiles are gone. Now, something to note is in the arcade version here, those statues up there, they were actually like Medusa-like statues, or maybe not Medusa-like, but they would like look at you and fire at you. It was really cool. Kind of evil and demonic. It was pretty cool. I really liked the arcade version of Time Soldiers. It was really a great game. It was sort of the culmination of what SNK and other companies had done with other, you know, 360-degree run and gun top-down shooters like Ikari Warriors and so forth. Time Soldiers was like the evolution of that, and one of the best ones in my opinion, of that style where you had the rotary joysticks. It was really, really cool. And it had really good sound too. So whenever your guys would die, they would make like this screaming sound, which you would hear a lot in that game. So again, we're going to the primitive age. Yeah, it had a pretty good sound. It had great graphics. It was very colorful. You know, those arcade games you'd see in the late 80s were always very detailed and colorful. It was basically that 16-bit style, like 16-bit style that you would later see in platforms like the Genesis and Mega Drive. But usually the arcade games were even more colorful than whatever we got on consoles, which is why I've always loved arcade games. They usually provide something that we didn't even get with the home consoles, or not to the same degree. Like, you know, for instance, the Sega Genesis had a very limited color palette. So games on arcade hardware usually had way more colors, and they were very, very, very colorful. Now, the Super Nintendo was more colorful than the Genesis, obviously, but, you know, due to the limited memory and so forth, animations were cut. So it was like, you can never get the best of both worlds, for the most part, on either of those platforms. And, so that's why I've always loved arcade games. It's like you get the best sound, the best graphics, and the best animation of that time period. Nowadays, it's different. Like, you know, the arcade, you know, having a game in the arcades really isn't anything special these days, unless it's like something gimmicky or something really, really unique. But back in the mid to late 80s, it was like, you know, it was kind of a big deal. You know, there were always major differences between the arcade versions and the home versions. Looks like we got some speed-up icons. Those, unfortunately, don't appear nearly enough in this game. So if you see them, pick them up. It definitely helps a lot. One of the things you'll find yourself doing in this game is just being too slow to dodge certain things, especially later on in the game, once we get past this main hub, which we're pretty much getting close to doing. So this should be the mini-boss. Should be the mini-boss. Where's the mini-boss? Not yet. Here's the mini-boss. Now I've got my weapon here, which, again, super powerful. And here's the boss. I'm going to try to just use my... Oh, shoot. I missed. Okay, cool. Got him. Yeah, if you have your secondary item, this one in particular is just like the red ball. Really, really powerful. So hold on to it. It's easily the best weapon in the game, as far as I'm aware. Okay, so we're waiting for your help in the future world. This is where the game starts to get really tricky. Really, really tricky. I don't know if I've ever gotten past this specific hub. So we're pretty much in the future world. We've got 4 lives. We have several continues. I haven't used any continues yet. So... And... It looks like my speed-up power-ups were gone. What? You don't even keep them between each level? Man, these guys are really underpowered. Oh. See, this is what I'm talking about. You really need the speed of power-ups on this level. And pretty much from here on out in the rest of the game. Oh, geez, that was my fault. That was a bad mistake. You got these dudes that just fly down the screen really fast. They fire bullets at you, and there's no time to avoid them. It's like you pretty much have to attack the guys the second they come out. So yeah, the difficulty really kicks up a notch starting from here on out. And again, I don't recall if I've ever completed this hub. I do remember this level and these sets of stages, but I don't remember if I actually beat this level, though. Okay, cool. I got that weapon at least. That's good. So the future world. I think we're in the future world? Okay. You gonna continue? Okay. Yeah, the future world. I want to say this hub is only a 2-level hub. So it's not like the last one where it was 3 stages. So now these big enemies that sort of fly down the screens, I'm gonna go ahead and just try to avoid them because they take a lot of hits. Except for those guys. I'm gonna go away. And the game is conveniently flickering at me now because there's so much going on, which makes it even harder. I think there's gonna be like a robot boss here, yeah. So now we have to be in the future world, so I'm not gonna go through that warp because it's gonna take me back to another age I don't need to be in. So let's go ahead and just skip past it, like so. Get back to the bottom of the screen. This is one of those games that scrolls when you're about 3/4 of the way down the screen. So if you're at the top of the screen's going to scroll, and you're going to be stuck at the top of the screen. So that's sort of like a traditional method of scrolling in old school 2-dimensional games. So in these kinds of games, I always try to make sure I get back down past the scrolling point threshold, as I'll call it, I guess. So the threshold is here, about 3/4 of the way down the screen. Or slightly, yeah, about close to 3/4. So you can see the screen scrolling whenever I tap up here. So I always like to be at that threshold to give me the most amount of space to move. So I don't want to use the rest of my special ability here because I need it for the next boss. Let's just run through as quickly as I can. Running, running, running. Let's not die. Well, I was really freaking close. I'm getting super lucky. Here's the boss. There we go. Alright, cool. And I don't think this boss was very difficult. I remember this dude. He just kind of goes in this simple pattern. He's going to either come to my side or... Nope, going to go the other side. Going to go the other way. Always goes back down. Yeah, that's it. So now we're going to be back. I think we're going to have to go back to whatever the old age is. The Ninja Age or something? I have no idea what it's called. We're going to find out. The Age of Wars. Okay. So not the Ninja Age. I'm disappointed now. I like the sound of Ninja Age better. Ninja Age. Yeah. So we're still in the future world, I believe. Yeah. Okay. And fortunately I did not get a game over, which leaves me with a couple of continues. These dudes take way too many hits. And I just totally slammed into just a guy walking, and I died from it, apparently. Gotta love old school games. Not really. I mean, I love old school games, but there are some design choices that just make you cringe. Like seriously, I only touched the guy. Does he have some, like, laser field shield or something I don't know about? That's pretty much killing me. I don't know, man. I'm just giving my myself excuses to digress. Give me some power-ups. So that's the thing that I definitely noticed when the first time I got here, is that the power-up count just drops significantly once you get here, which makes an already tough level much more tough. Much more difficult. So it's like, look at it, I'm killing all these guys, I'm not getting a single power-up. And so you get to bosses like this, and you've got nothing. Not that the bosses are really that hard anyway, but still, I mean, give me something to work through the tough levels, at least. Never been a fan of games doing that, where they make the game harder, but you don't get any power-ups to compensate for that difficulty. So you've got a really difficult thing that's made even more difficult, because... What the hell? He What was that? He just, like, skipped halfway across the screen. I think that was a glitch. I've never seen that before on this boss. That was retarded. I totally got gypped there. How many lives do I have now? At least they give you ample time to read this section, which is good. It's the most important part. 0 lives. That means I don't think I continued. I must have gotten an extra life or something. I have no idea. See, look, ninjas! Should be called the Ninja Age. Should also be called weird dudes just fly down the screen way too goddamn fast Age. Something like that. Yeah, stop it. And guys with projectiles that outdo my big-ass bazooka-looking cannon projectiles. Seriously, dude. How am I supposed to get past that? Like, really? Now I'm mashing buttons to continue. Ugh. Yeah, this version of the game, anyway, definitely has some issues from a design perspective. Like this right here, it's like, seriously, you're gonna give me, like, I can barely even maneuver here. You get stuck on the stairwell, and now I've got all these guys shooting up at me. And it's like, whoa, it's a challenge. Well, it's like, it's a totally unfair challenge. Like, how am I supposed to get through this? Because the second I start walking up those stairs, that dude fires at me. Like, jeez, man. It's like you have to die. And it really... Oh, jeez, man. Died again. Right as I got the speed power. Look, I still have the speed power up, even though I died. So, you lose the speed power when you beat levels, but you don't lose it when you die. It's just... Now I'm just not paying attention. I'm really not paying attention now. So you got this dude, not enough space to maneuver. So we need to be in the Age of Wars. We're already in the Age of Wars. Let's go back down, scroll up, there we go. So this is definitely one of those games where you're ill-equipped after a certain point. Which, I'm not sure how I feel. What am I talking about? I am sure how I feel. I freaking hate it. Give me some power-ups, damn it. You know, that aside, it's still a pretty cool game. It's just the arcade version, like many arcade to Master System conversions, is so much better. Like, this is definitely a shadow of what the arcade version is, for sure. I mean, just from a design perspective like that. I mean, the arcade version's pretty unfair, too, but... You can also fire a hell of a lot faster, you can shoot in any direction a lot faster, your character moves faster, so yeah. Let this be the main boss, because I'm sick of this level already. Ah, no! I just got a game over. Game over. That's lame. So apparently I rescued 4 guys. I don't know how many there are. Maybe 6, maybe 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's only 5? Maybe the game is actually really short and I just don't know it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. A little disappointing. I think I should have definitely played it a little bit better in that second hub because... But as you can see, you also get screwed. Like, enemies fly down the screen, the enemies are sitting right on top of you. You don't die by touching airborne enemies, but they shoot, and that kills you. So it's like, but you can't see that they're shooting because they're already on top of you, but you're too slow to move out of their way, and realistically, I guess I should be shooting at them, but you're too busy shooting at other crap that's also firing bullets at you, and it's like, it gets a little unfair, and I think that's one of the big problems with this game. I do still recommend the game. I recommend giving it a shot. It is 2 players at the same time, and I think that might make the game a lot easier. I've never played this version of Time Splitters. Time Splitters, I said it again. I've never played this version of Time Soldiers 2 players at the same time, so I can't vouch for that, but I would, you know, theoretically it would make the game a lot easier, and maybe that's really how it's meant to be played. So if you do check this out, hopefully you have some friends nearby that are willing to play it with you and understand the game, and you know, that difficulty spike aside, it's still a pretty cool game. And again, if you ever see this in the arcade, in like some retro barcade or something like that, definitely play it. It's a really, really cool arcade game, and definitely one of my favorites, or at least one of the ones I'm the most nostalgic about from that time period, because I did have a place I was able to play it at quite a bit through certain instances. So anyway, guys, that's it. Stay tuned in another couple of days for another Master System Let's Play video. So until then, guys, take care.